Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of RTM's Track Talk. I'm Ailsa Cowen, your host for today, and for this episode I'm joined by Adeline Ginn MBE, the founder and chair of Women in Rail.
So to start off with, Adeline, would you mind explaining your role in Women in Rail and how you come to be in the position that you are today?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Ailsa. My role, I am the founder and chair of Women in Rail, a charity which purpose is to attract, support and retain women in the UK railway industry and more broadly to improve gender balance, diversity and inclusion in our sector. I set up Women in Rail back in 2012 for essentially really two reasons. One is to give women working in the railway access to a comprehensive networking and professional network platform to make sure that they could meet women who were like them working in the railway, make new friends, but also have access to programs where they can receive the help and guidance that they need in their professional development, growth and confidence. This is all underpinned by the charity's primary goal aim to attract women in the sector, support them climb up the career ladder and realize their full potential and retain that talent, that female talent.
So how did you come about to actually be the founder of the organisation?
I've been in the rail industry. I created it in 2012. I've been in the rail industry by then for over 10 years, and I was very aware that in my role I didn't often encounter other women.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did, and we got chatting, a few of them said to me they felt quite isolated, and it was so nice to meet another woman because that didn't happen so often, and I really wanted to do something about it. It was a way also to give something back to an industry that has been very welcoming for me. So I set up Women in Rail, and I reached out to a few women I knew and said, will you help me set it up? Will you help me create a networking platform for women so women all over the country have a chance to meet other women in the railway sector and make new friends? And so we set it up on LinkedIn first as a social network platform, and we've mushroomed from there, and it's been an amazing journey. I mean, one thing I want to clarify that membership of Women in Rail is men and women, so it's not a women-only group, essentially because to achieve our aims, we need the support of men, and we need to change perceptions about women, and that includes getting them to understand more about us and about what drives women, but also a woman to understand more what drives men and the difference in styles, managerial style and leadership styles. We're all volunteers, about 100 of us, pushing the Women in Rail agenda forward in addition to our day job. And I personally feel very privileged to be working with such a fantastic team of committed and dedicated men and women, absolutely passionate about creating opportunities for all in our industry. So you asked me, I started in 2012, and now we're in 2020. We're 8 years on. We have about 4,000 members, men and women of all grades and roles in the UK railway industry. We host a wide range of networking events and workshops through 8 regional hubs in Scotland, the Northwest, Yorkshire, the West Midlands, the East Midlands, Wales, the South, and of course London. We also have a close collaboration with Women in Rail Malaysia. We run a very successful cross-company mentoring program, which is endorsed by the Department for Transport and the Rail Delivery Group. We run 2 yearly flagship events, the Big Rail Diversity Challenge, which you may have heard of, or your listeners may have heard of, which is a day where gender balance and diverse teams go head-to-head in mental and physical challenges. It's often referred to as the cross between It's a Knockout and Krypton Factor. And the other events that we host yearly is the Women in Rail Awards, where we get the opportunity to celebrate the unsung heroes of rail, the men, women, teams and companies who go the extra mile, often in addition to their day job, to push forward the diversity and inclusion agenda in our sector. And through the awards, we hopefully give them the recognition and the celebration they deserve. I mean, for for your listeners, they want to understand more about what we do. We run surveys, publish reports. We're very active on social media, showcasing a wide range of careers available in the industry, but also female role models in Rare, from apprentices to MDs. And we campaign for Rare as a career of choice for young girls. So therefore, we have very close collaborations with YRP and the support from the Department for Transport, the Bees, the Government Equality Office, the National Skills Academy for Rare, Rail Delivery Group, of course. And Women in Rail is very proud to be the diversity champion on the rail sector skills and delivery plan.
So you definitely kept busy. So you definitely kept busy then with everything that you do.
Yeah, we grew as Women in Rail membership grew. More ideas came to us, but also more suggestions as to what we could do to make sure that we supported women who are in the sector. Because I truly believe that there is a lot of focus on attracting more women and young girls to the sector, and I think that's obviously really important. But one should not overlook the women who are currently in the sector. Some of them may be struggling. Some of them have left because they didn't feel they had received the support. So our focus is really on these women, making sure that they have a support network for them, both personally with networking events and fun events, but also professionally through the mentoring program and the development workshop that we host. And last year in April, we also launched a new initiative called SWIFT, which stands for Senior Women in, or formerly in Rail or Transport. And it's a network of executives, men and women executives in the UK railway sector. It's a peer-to-peer network for them, but it's also to see how we can lend a hand and help younger women who may be at senior managerial level but struggle to go to executive or directorship level. The launch was attended by over 100 senior professionals from the UK railway industry. And Keith Williams, chairman of the Williams Review team, introduced the event, and he's very, very supportive. He talked essentially about his experience of diversity and inclusion and lack of gender balance in the aircraft industry. So there is a lot of willingness to support women, to help them realize their full potential. Even that we hosted a workshop on NED, some women are not necessarily interested in getting to the top jobs, but they want to get board experience through NED positions. So we're supporting this as well. So
since you started Women in Rail back in 2012, do you think the industry has come a long way since then?
I think the business case for both gender diversity and ethnic and cultural diversity is stronger, most certainly. And I think the rail sector has definitely become more accurately aware of the skills gap and of the benefit of fostering a more diverse workforce. We find that companies are more open to the need to improve gender balance, diversity, and most importantly, inclusion, and are increasingly willing to make a change. But progress is very, very slow. What's needed to make progress is for companies to really pay much greater attention to inclusion, have a systematic business-led approach and a bold, concerted action to create a diverse workforce and embed an inclusive culture. You cannot have diversity, you cannot have gender balance if you don't have an inclusive culture.
So I can imagine diversity is still quite a present challenge for the people high up in the industry. Do you think diversity is something that leaders are responsible for, or is it more a responsibility for everyone?
Diversity and equality is everyone's responsibility at the personal level and the professional level. But in my experience, leaders drive the culture of the company they operate in. If leaders do not make a conscious effort to encourage diversity initiatives and openly welcome diversity in their workforce, diversity cannot truly exist and thrive without inclusion, because people from minorities and diverse backgrounds will not feel they fully included and therefore won't take an active part in the company's growth and won't stay, and that's why we lose talent. So more progress, in my view, will be made if business leaders take proactive steps to, as I just mentioned, embed an inclusive culture in their company and adopt a positive approach, which is really stitched in at the deepest and highest level of the organization. And that means creating an expectation of inclusion and an internal philosophy of inclusion within the company, within the industry, and standing by it. And that can take the form of proactive steps to build and embed an inclusive culture at all grades and roles, welcome and embrace different styles, skills, and background the workforce offers, and ensure that everyone behaves, and this starts with leaders, in a way that is supportive of inclusion.
So say if someone high up at Network Rail approached you and asked how they could make a more conscious effort to have a diverse workforce or be more conscious of things like gender balance and inclusion, what advice would you give them?
I would say to them, start by looking inwards in your organizations, map out your workforce, self-reflect on its makeup, on your values and on your culture, and then take proactive steps to embed an inclusive culture in your company and adopt a positive approach to diversity. As I said, create an expectation of inclusion being an internal philosophy of the company. In terms of what to do, then can ensure representation of diverse talent throughout into executive management, technical and board roles. So that is found everywhere. So you actually want to talk, make the company's core business leaders and managers at the heart of the diversity inclusion effort and hold them accountable for progress. And then be completely open and fair about any skills gap, and therefore in your recruitment practices, make sure that people are recruited on the basis of merit, but also that the quality of the candidates brought to you is very, very diverse. So you give people a chance to shine, and maybe change your recruitment process itself, adopt blind CVs, and if there is any gender pay gap, be open about it and be open about the actions that you're taking to close it. Probably most importantly, embedded in all this, underpinning all this, is uphold a zero tolerance policy for discriminatory behavior, such as bullying, harassment, and actively build the ability of managers to recognize those signs and identify and address microaggressions. That will enable the workforce to feel comfortable speaking up and feel comfortable, feel motivated into taking part in the progress of the industry, and feel that they're heard as part of the decision-making process within the company itself. There was a fantastic quote by recently, which I came across, and unfortunately I can't remember who I think it was Emma Myers, who said, diversity is being invited to the board and inclusion is being asked to dance. And I think if you implement that through and through within your company, then you naturally will have a diverse workforce, because people will stay, people will get a chance to progress up the career ladder, but people will also be attracted in coming into your and work for your company.
So are there any projects you've been involved with that you're particularly proud of with regards to diversity? I know you said quite a lot of the different sort of projects at the start when I asked you about your involvement, but is there any in particular that stand out to you? There
are really two. The Women in Rail Cross Industry Mentoring Program is something we're really proud of. We started 4 of us putting it together, and now we are partnering with Moving Ahead, which is a specialist company that runs very successful mentoring program across the world, and one of them being the very successful 30% Club. We're very proud of that program for 2 reasons. Because it gives women in the rail industry the support that they need from a more senior industry professional for their personal and professional development and growth. Someone who is not from their company. It's a cross-company program, so mentors and mentees would be matched with someone from another company. So that champion diverse thinking and cross-fertilization of idea network, which goes back to what I was saying earlier about getting people to understand each other's differences, accept them, respect them, and see the benefits of diversity. But it also supports women and give them the confidence to maybe go for that promotion that they wanted, or get better prepared to have that discussion about salaries. Mentoring is absolutely key, not only to personal development, professional development, but to enrich oneself and to equality. We up until last year, mentees were essentially women in the railway sector, and mentors were men and women in UK Rail. This year, we opened the program to male mentees as well, so that we ensure that male mentees are mentored by a female mentor And of course, female mentees will have the choice of a male mentor or female mentor, but we encourage them to be matched with a male mentor. So both sides understand. And the feedback we had from mentors very early on, from male mentors very early on in the program, was that it really opened their eyes to some of the issues faced by women in the corporate world and in industry. And their mentees have said that they were really committed to helping to make a difference. So it's a learning process, and that's the advantage of mentoring, one of the many advantages of mentoring, that helps you understand better what people who are different from you can be going through, their priorities, their fears, and gives you a chance to support them. And by understanding each other better, that's how the industry is going to be more welcoming and therefore, in time, much more inclusive. The other, so as you can see, I could talk about the work for women in rail for hours, but the other initiative which I thought was quite important to mention was Never Mind the Gap initiative, which is an initiative that Sarah Reid, who is the leader of Women in Rail East Midlands, launched last year for Women in Rail. And that initiative offers women who are currently not in employment, either through a career break, moving on from caring, redundancy or otherwise, and have not been given a chance to fulfill their full potential, the benefit of free training and a 2-week work placement in a rail company. The objective of this, of course, is to attract more women into rail, but also support women who may sometimes have fallen on hard times and give them a chance to have a second chance. And it's the same with the mentoring program. We have a pro bono fund which is available for women who are not part of any rail companies taking part in the program, but who may want to take the next step in their career or come back into rail and need more support than others, for instance, who may be already in the railway industry or in companies who are very much open to diversity and inclusion.
Don't apologise for the amount that you can talk about all the projects that you do. It just shows how busy you are and how passionate you are about your work. It's great. It's great to hear. I can imagine a lot of people expect the rail industry to be very heavily male-dominated. How do you think companies and organisations can then work to attract more female talent?
The industry is male-dominated. Women in Rail carried out an industry survey back in 2015, which we repeated in 2017, and found that 16.4% of the workforce in rail are women. Out of those 16.4%, only 11% are at senior management level. We carried out the survey to identify where the women were, and more importantly, where they were not, and devise initiatives to address this. So it is male-dominated, but it's not anti-women. As I said, we have a lot of support for our work and the Women in Rail agenda. To answer your second part of the question, which was how do you think companies can work to attract more female talent? Well, start, as I say, by fostering a culture of diversity and inclusion that is supportive of women. Make the company's core business leaders and managers at the heart of the gender diversity and inclusion effort, and hold them accountable for progress. So from the top down, goes back to what we've been discussing now, it's from the top. The leaders have to give the direction, have to give the vision and the mission and the values of the company. And if that's underpinned by a strong desire to have a diverse workforce and an inclusive culture, then that will happen. In practical terms, we found that implementing internal procedures which makes it easier for women to balance work life and home priorities, such as, for instance, flexible working, shared parental leave, return to work days after maternity leave really works. Also, as I mentioned earlier, adopting blind CVs in the recruitment progress, ensuring that everyone, no matter what their role and grade is, receive unconscious bias training, and support a zero tolerance policy for discriminatory behavior and uninclusive behavior. Also give access, but not only to women, also to men, of course, access to internal and external mentoring programs, and have clear, well-thought-out development plans. So women and men have a clear view of where their career is going within that company, and have the buy-in from the management to support that career plan, and an open pipeline is really visible. And as I said, be very transparent and open about pay. Ensure the gender pay gap is addressed if there is one. And as you go, as the company gets a more diverse workforce, then showcase that workforce and make sure that they reach out to executive management, technical and board roles, and demonstrate that you mean what you said when you said you wanted a diverse workforce and an inclusive culture. And if you have that, naturally the process will happen. It won't require effort. If there is a will, there is always a way. And if the culture is there strongly embedded throughout the company, then diversity and inclusion and gender balance will emerge. And the company itself will be much more productive because diversity and inclusion is not just about fairness. It's also about business performance. And there are numerous surveys that shows that companies with a gender balanced workforce and an ethnically diverse workforce perform much better, 36% or 48% more than their companies with not such diversity. So that's, these are the things that can be done as a first instance.
So leading on from your point about companies having transparency and having a clear view for the future, where would you like to see the rail industry in 5 years' time?
Or if I had a magic wand, I would love to see, of course, a 50-50 male-female ratio in rail, but also a 50-50 ethnic minority and general minorities ratio in rail. The rail industry being fully representative of the customer base that we serve, each individual, the uniqueness of opinions, background, religious and political belief represented throughout the rail industry at all grades and roles. That's what I would love to see. And where we don't even need, we're in a stage where we don't even need to talk about diversity and inclusion because it just is there.
Well, thank you very much for being today's guest, Adeline. It's been great to hear
pleasure.
about all the amazing work you're doing, and it's great to hear how passionate you are about everything that you're doing as well.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of RTM's Track Talk. Stay tuned for our next episode coming soon, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you've enjoyed listening.